Hello and welcome to the Mindset Mini. We do a Mindset Monday every Monday on Kiss My Pony, and it's always a new worksheet. It's always a new topic. So it would be fun to have you. This is a taster, a Kiss My Pony Mini. Sorry, it's a taster of the Kiss My Pony Mindset Monday. We're calling it a Mindset Mini. Welcome to the Kiss My Pony Mindset Mini.
There we go.
There we go. Awesome. So I am super pumped. Today we're talking about Wheel of Life. I'm going to share my screen. Little Mindset Mini, August 30th, 2021. Okay, so wheels need to be round. It seems kind of obvious, but sometimes our wheels are a little lumpy. Otherwise, they can't roll, or at least they can't roll well. And then they get stuck, which is never fun. I feel like I'm in a bit of a stuck place right now. So I think my wheel is a little bit wobbly. We'll find out. Being stuck really sucks. So let's check our alignment, a little wheel alignment today, to make sure we don't have a flat. Ooh, I might have a flat. So this is the Wheel of Life. It is a fairly common exercise that can be found on the internet. Explore the level of your satisfaction in each area of the wheel. In our lives are complicated and it can be difficult to find balance. Make your wheel personal by adding labels to the top of each section that resonates with an important part of your life. So then you color in the level of satisfaction of each slice of your life, and you can choose a unique color for each section, or you can use the same color for all of them. So for today's date, and I added a bunch of titles to mine. So it's August 30th, and my titles are adventure, home, recreation, family, friends, money, growth, romance, health, career, creativity, success, self-care, love, support, and fun. So you can put whatever labels are important to you around the wheel. And I have colored mine in with reasons. So creativity, I feel like I'm always excelling at that area, but I feel like I'm doing it to the max right now. So that's good. And friends, I feel like with the pandemic, I'll rate that as a 4. Like I don't feel like a lack in that area, but definitely would be nice to hang out in person a little bit more. And then family, I haven't seen them that much, so that's getting a 3. And adventure, with the pandemic and everything, travel kind of being a little bit restricted, or at least in my mind, that's a 1, not very much happening on the adventure front. For self-care, I could do better for sure in that area. I tried this weekend to make a little bit more time for myself and just take everything a bit slower. So that was good. And then I filled out the other one. So recreation and home life, I think, are not as great as I'd like them to be. Fun and support, not as great as I'd like them to be. I think like pandemic fun, but also maybe my ability to just be giddy in a time of difficulty. So for career, I'm looking for a little bit of a new challenge. So that's a little lower. Health and romance, I think I'm lacking a little motivation. So it's good that I have a little Mindset Monday to get me through. So you can do it in a couple different colors. You can do it in one color, but you can start to see how this would not turn well at all. This is not a good wheel of rolling through life. So that's where I'm at. I also printed a new sheet in case I wanted to add different labels and rank it differently. Like I could do this wheel just on self-care, all the things that I do to take care of myself. So that could be, walking. I like to walk, but I always walk with my dogs. And yesterday was great. I had a wonderful walk with them, but sometimes they're little turds and they want to drag me under trees and stuff. So it's not really self-care when they're being turds. Yeah, so I could, whether that's like having a leisurely shower or having a nap or whatever you do for self-care. I think you could do a whole wheel just on that.
I like the idea of separating them like that.
Yeah, well, and it
That's a
depends
really good
how
idea.
like granular, as they say. I get with something. So like,
especially for the ones that have lower ratings, to kind of delve a little deeper. You're like,
yeah,
what's happening here?
well, and I think for me, for fun, that would be a good one to just be like, what are the things that you like to do for fun? And have you done any of them recently? Like I could even rank it in the last 12 months and rank all the things I like to do, and scores would be pretty dismal. What's on your wheel? What are you going to tackle?
All right, I'll just show you what it looks like here.
Oh, nice.
So my creativity is also quite full because I'm always doing something creative every day, whether it's like designing something new in my garden or doing some cross stitch or painting or drawing, whatever. I'm always doing something creative. And I don't feel like that's lacking in any way. Let's see, there was one. Oh, but my career is down around a 2 because it's kind of wishy-washy at the moment. And also I'm not a typical kind of career person. I'm a bit of a dabbler. So I'm kind of in between something right now, waiting for it to work or waiting for it to start, which is related to my self-care because I'm having a chronic pain flare up right now. And so that's affecting a lot of things on my wheel.
Right. I wonder, could you do a chronic pain wheel?
That's actually a really great idea because there are things that it affects that I don't think about. Yeah. And then I wonder why I'm getting so stressed. Yeah, that's definitely something I should do here.
Yeah, I think that it's really like, when I was just talking about my fun wheel, that's actually a new thought for me. I hadn't thought before the call that, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to say. No, it was just kind of popped into my head. So this whole thought of like taking those individual things, almost like you had, a semi trailer with all of these wheels. And so, yes, if you were rating maybe the road stability, the alignment of the entire vehicle, the wheel that I did with all of the different spokes would be appropriate. But if you were looking for just assessing whether those wheels needed individual attention, like a patch or something, like divvying it out, I think would be really great.
I really like that analogy because I can picture the wheels on the truck, and it's like, that's why there's so many, because they're not all going to be as good and they all have to help pull it.
Well, and I think the interesting thing too is if you think about that analogy, like, that if, an 18-wheeler blows a tire, they don't really notice, So that I think is really fascinating because so many times we're neglecting an area of the wheel, but we're blowing ahead and we don't really notice because everything else is going pretty good. And I mean, eventually that catches up with you. Like that tire needs to be fixed. It exists for a reason, but I mean,
other ones start getting low because of that.
Yeah, because they're carrying more of a burden and you're looking to be fulfilled in that area. For sure. No, I like that too, because if you think, especially self-care, usually I think is the first tire that blows for most people. It's just like, oh, have I done it recently? And to just think about like how long you've gone without doing like not basic human needs, but basic emotional needs.
And the most ridiculous thing being is that if your all isn't its best, then everything else is going to suffer. That's one thing that like everything else kind of hinges on.
Yeah, well, and even when you're saying that, like both of us ranked our creativity really high, but I will say that if self-care suffers too long, creativity plummets.
Very true. And for me, my creativity gets higher sometimes as the self-care goes down for a bit because it's a distraction. Like
Right.
during this chronic pain flare up, I've been finding more little hobbies to do that don't involve going outside and being physical to take my mind off it.
Right.
And so there's maybe a bit of surge right now, but when I get back to reality and I'm able to move a little more, then there's all these other things I'm going to have to take care of. So that's going
Yes.
to like go on the back burner.
Well, I guess it's sort of like cleaning your house, right? If you don't clean your house for a month, like the first couple of weeks are kind of bearable. Like there's like not even like the first week you probably don't notice. The second week you're raising your tolerance to dust bunnies and dog hair. And then it starts to wear on you. It starts like not cleaning my desk often wears on me. Like I can make my desk a mess like super fast. So it can take me like half an hour to clean it. And then all of a sudden, it's messy. But if it's messy for too long, then I don't function well.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. Well, and even like I did a pop-up with Pony Friday on Friday.
Yeah.
And we got kind of rained out and I had to come and back and wipe everything down and lay it all out to dry. And so I've been periodically trying to put it away. I'm like checking it to see if it's dry and staging it out to put it away because it was overwhelming, like to bring home this pile of stuff and it's all wet. And then to have it all strewn out everywhere laying around like that kind of wears on you. It's like if you don't finish a task, but some tasks like that you cannot finish immediately. So like you have to stage the follow through. And I think that for me with self-care, that's a problem, right? I would love to just get all my self-care done for the month in a day. Just be like, okay, that tank is full.
That's going to keep me going now. I don't have to think about it. It's funny though, you talk about your little thing there, and that's exactly like housework, because you let it go, you ignore it, you build up this resistance, then all of a sudden it's overwhelming. And where do you start?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And then you're like kind of kicking yourself going, well, why did I do that to myself?
Well, the other part of like, where do I start is that when it gets so bad, even like if you talk self-care or I haven't had enough fun, you can have a little bit of fun. You can do a little bit of self-care. You can do a little bit of housework. And it's such a small dent in the mountain that it feels like it did nothing. And then you don't have that motivation to perpetuate forward motion. And that's where I struggle, is it gets overwhelmed and then I'm chipping away at it, but like, it's not working. Or
because you need the dopamine that you get from the satisfaction of completely completing something.
Yes. And I think that's the struggle, right? It's like, how far can you go into self-care debt before it's almost too hard to get out of? And I think that's probably where some forms of depression come from, is you just like allow like personal neglect. Oh, this is good. I needed this conversation.
So my health is on the same range as self-care there. How to word this? Like, I'm physically healthy, and pretty much emotionally, mentally pretty healthy right now. But the chronic pain is like separate from health. You know, I'm not ill, but I do have this physical thing going on with my body that even if it's not as bad as my brain is telling me it is, it pulls my attention away from everything else.
So I've been thinking a lot about that concept in general of like a pain flare up, or, you know, when I was 18, I had shingles because of stress, and like that's a nerve ending issue. And I keep thinking about like, why, if I have anxiety bubbling up, because I actually had some anxiety bubbling up yesterday and I couldn't figure out why, to be able to take a moment and think about why, because I do think our bodies are really good about telling us things we're just not very good at interpreting the message.
Absolutely. Because I can look at that and be like, well, here's some other things in my wheel that are low that I
Right.
want to be doing, but my pain is again preventing me, like an adventure. That's pretty darn low.
Yeah.
And even though I live near a forest and there's lots I could be adventuring, I'm near the ocean, but it's just like it's taxing to think about it mentally, about putting in the effort to go do the thing, and will the fun and the adventure of that like even out with the stress of like preparing myself for the pain, preparing myself for like maybe I can't go as far as I want or do what I want. And it's like kind of a balancing act, deciding if it's worth it or not.
Yes. Yes. It's so hard. It's so hard to know because you're like future planning, but I think that it's also when we were talking about completion, I think that it's not even the doing, it's the having done. Because so many times I'm miserable while doing things. It could even be like something super fun that I've been looking forward to. And then I go and I participate and I'm miserable. But like the next day, I'm elated because I did that thing. But like the whole experience was misery.
That's what I feel like with climbing mountains and backpacking.
Right?
While I'm walking with that backpack, it's the worst thing in the world. It's heavy. I'm hot. There's bugs. I'm like, why am I doing this? I have to pick a tree in the distance and convince myself to make it to that tree just to keep going.
Yes.
And then, of course, it's blissful in camp and the food tastes like heaven and everything else. And then when you get home and have that first shower, it's wow, I did that. That's so cool. And then you start to forget all of the horribleness of it. And you just care that you completed something.
It's so fascinating because that you're talking about like a massive undertaking and a massive adventure. And like yesterday, 2 days ago, it was late at night and one of my dogs gets hives, and Dante, he needed this Reactin, just over the counter antihistamine. And we were out and I needed to give him pills before bed. And I live like a block away from a Safeway. So that just was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to like put on some real clothes and I'm going to have to go across the street and but it's so fascinating how some days that's something that I don't even think about. I just quick run, do it. And then other times it is like climbing a mountain. So like you have climbed a mountain, you know what that's like, but do you have everyday experiences that feel like that, even though in comparison, they look very different?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get me started on the housework. And that's another one that I can blame on the chronic pain, which it's a convenient excuse right now because I feel less guilty because I can go, oh, it looks like that because I can't house clean right now. But did it look like that before I put my back out? Probably a little bit.
I love that concept of blame.
Yeah.
I love it because for sure on my wheel, I'm blaming the pandemic. I'm blaming, the current situation. I'm blaming the weight of the restrictions or the shifting reality or, the negativity in the news for my drained fuel tank.
And that's why I thought about that, the pandemic thing a bit with when I was filling out family and friends and support and all that, because I live on the other side of the country from most of my friends and my family. But I still rate my family life as high, one, because my partner, but also I have a good relationship with my family. And even though we don't talk all the time, it's like, I know if I needed that, then they'd be there. So that's not something I ever have to worry about. So that's very high for me, always. And then with friends, like, again, I have lots of friends. Most of them live elsewhere. And I kind of feel like maybe the pandemic has led me to speak with some of them less. But with other ones, I've actually been talking to them more. And
interesting.
I'm a hermity person, so I'm able to go like months and months without, friendship contact. And doesn't mean I don't want to, you know, be with friends or anything. I'm just really good at it's the self-care thing, not really thinking about it, putting it off, And then when I finally do call a friend or see a friend, I think to myself, like, why have I waited so long to do this?
Right.
And it's just like, it's in my mind, it's like, my friends are always there. They're busy right now. They don't need to worry about whatever. And, I'm doing okay. And then finally, when you get to talk to someone, you realize, well, maybe this thing's not doing okay.
I like that, because I was just thinking about how what you're focused on shifts your perception of how it is. Because when I'm very busy with things and I don't hear from people, I just assume that they're great. But when I'm feeling isolated and lonely and I don't hear from people, I always feel kind of like, well, why isn't someone checking on me? Right? When they're just assuming I'm good.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I used to have that less because I was pretty active on social media. So, I posted pictures all the time of my adventures and stuff. But I get scrolling paralysis, and so I can't really go on there anymore. So I feel more of a disconnect from my friends because so many people use that as the main way to interact with their friends. So I really feel like I'm missing out on that. But then I feel like, well, my friends should still be looking in on me in other ways, or something. But then I always have to remind myself that when was the last time I looked in on that friend or something? It's a two-way street.
Oh, that's fascinating. Because so years ago, I had a college friend that I hadn't talked to in a while. And this was, I was still in my 20s. So I called them, and their first thing was like, oh, why haven't you called me recently? And I thought, well, it is a two-way. Phones worked both ways. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin for that friendship, just because it does require a two-way street for friends. And I even think that's interesting about like social media. And when you're talking to different people through different portals, I rank my friend connection on how personal it is. Like, one, what we're talking about. Two, how, like, what communication tool we're using and how we generally interact and why you interact. Like, I have quote unquote friends who, if I post something interesting on a Instagram stories, will probably comment on it. The other day, I posted a giant zucchini that my dad had grown, and I got some comments. But so those interactions to me are very superficial, even though I'm having interactions with those people. It's not anything deep. Whereas generally, if I'm having a deep conversation, it's on the phone or over Zoom, and it's somebody who calls me or texts me, not DMs me.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I also find those conversations a little bit more exhausting, like DMs. I find them more exhausting than texting, because I feel like, even though I always, I pride myself in being very authentic and transparent, I feel like there's a different social formality that happens within different relationships, because you're only at a surface level. Like, it's like if you met somebody at a conference, like, all these people, and then you said something way too personal, that it's rare that somebody would be like, tell me more. Right? Like, please tell me more. They'd be like, oh, that's a lot for a hello greeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just had a thought and just lost it. Yeah. So the other thing that I don't like about DMs are, there's no completion of the interaction or conversation. If you're having a phone conversation, you hang up. If you're sending an email, you have your end greeting. Same with a text. Usually there's an ending in there, but I feel like like messenger apps, they just go on forever and ever, and they never stop. And I struggle with like when to end it or how to end it. Just be like, okay, I'm busy now. Like, go away. Like, stop.
Well, and that's interesting because I do have friends who, if we're texting quite a bit, like say we have like a text of five, 5 texts each, then it's like, okay, gotta go. But if somebody's just texting me something quick, and I haven't interacted, or it was a quick interaction, there's not that responsibility to say goodbye. And I think that with social media, the other thing with direct messages is I have to remember that I do not need to respond to number one ever. Like I don't need to, no matter what anybody said. And two, I get to respond on my own time. Yes, with text messages too, but less so. But like direct messages, I feel like, often it's some solicitation, and I'm like, block. So like you just don't know who you're gonna get. Whereas on your personal cell phone, when like people are texting you, you feel like it's a lot more curated. The people that have that number are a lot more curated.
Absolutely. And that in turn takes less energy because those people more likely are involved in your life enough to know what's going on. Whereas hey, I contact you every 6 months. What's up? It's like that takes a lot of energy of how to respond, how deep you get into it. Like, then you're in the level of friendship again. Like, do they really want to know how I'm doing, or are they just
bored?
Like,
they're bored. They're just like, who can I talk to? Because I'm bored. Oh my gosh. Well, and I find people come out of the woodwork when I post something that they deem interesting or worthy of their interaction, which is funny, but so hilarious. I like that we talked about the wheel being kind of like your whole life or like individual wheels. I think that was really, really important for me. I'm going to fill this out for self-care and fun. I think I'm going to make those together.
I'm definitely going to print out a few now and do that for some.
Well, just
like my chronic pain wheel.
Because
but even career and success and I mean, money you think would go with that, but meh, it doesn't always have to if you're stable. And then kind of growth, I guess. I feel like there could be a career one that I would do that would have all of those little bits, because personally, I don't have my success in relation to my career like that.
Well, probably nobody should.
Right.
Right. So when you were just talking though, I was thinking about like a wealth wheel. Because when you're talking about success and wealth, like health is in wealth, where you live, your general happiness. Like I think wealth could be a really great wheel of like.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Because I talk about where I am right now in like where I actually live, and our home is an older home, and it's not anything flashy, but we feel rich. Yes. Because the property, the area is enough for us and we love it. So it's like we feel wealthy in that realm, even though someone would like come into our house and be like, geez, you got to redo this floor or something,
Right. Well, and it's so funny because people were over on the weekend, and we were out on the deck hanging out, and we have a really great deck. Like it's huge. And I said, yeah, it's the best room in the house. And like come November, our lives become just a little more miserable. Because, I'd say that the deck, is, 50% the size of the main floor of the house, maybe even more. It's maybe like 75%. It's huge. And there's like big table and big couches and, umbrellas and the shade and the fresh air, and it's sunny. It's just like, this is sad when we have to go back in.
Yeah, it sounds lovely.
It's amazing. But yeah, that whole, I think I need to do a wheel of how do I keep the kind of like posh, rich feeling of outdoor living when this winter comes.
Well, you could build part of it into a sunroom.
Yes, but then I don't know. I should just build like tarps over top, like a shanty town on my deck. Oh, I often like wander out there and pretend I'm on a yacht, just like, oh, here I am on, the balcony of my yacht.
I feel like that on my front deck because we've got a high railing that's wide enough you can put a drink on, so I can just sit there and look out at this far distant ocean and like literally try to pretend I'm on a boat as I
oh my gosh,
feel the air.
So good. So we're going to transition into Kiss My Pony questions just to kind of fill up some things people might be wondering about Kiss My Pony. So every Monday we do a Mindset Monday workshop. Today's a Mindset Monday on August 30th, 2021 is actually Thorns in My Side, which I'm really looking forward to. But we do new worksheets every Monday. I mean, we have repeated occasionally, and we probably will for exercises because sometimes you're in a different place and it's still relevant. We also have been doing a year-long resolution. So we've been circling back to that at the beginning of every quarter to see how you're doing on your bigger goals. But
I have a question.
Yeah.
How much notice do you give for your topic? Like if somebody was wanted to know if it was a topic they're interested in, like they specifically wanted to be involved in a certain
topic. Yeah. So usually at the Mindset Monday, like at Mindset Monday today, we will announce the Mindset Monday topic for next week. And then the reminder post for the event drops on Friday morning so that they can just kind of be reminded. And the worksheet drops on Friday morning too. So if they wanted to do some pre-work, the other thing about that is that because Mindset Monday is every day at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, that's just in everybody's calendar to know that they can show up for that. And then they can check to see if they want to participate in the topic. And a lot of people are actually watching the recording, doing the worksheet on their own time because either the time wasn't convenient for them or they weren't in the headspace to have that kind of conversation. I mean, it's not, a light topic. Sometimes you go into some pretty heavy stuff, and we like to really delve in and not do kind of surface like, oh, how are you? I'm good. Like, can you unpack that? Like we want to support you, and it helps everybody else share their perspectives because we're really focused on peer-to-peer coaching. So nobody's a guru. I'm the host, and that's great, but I definitely have a very different life experience than many people, and that's the value, right? Everybody comes to the table with the perspective they're carrying today, and that's important because the perspective I carry today is different than the one I carried last week. We're all evolving, and that's really the point.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, so I have a question. Why do I need this? Maybe you don't. That's the key, right? Maybe you don't, and maybe you're thinking like, I'm not really into this, but somebody you know might actually really benefit from having a community. So Kiss My Pony, when it launched, I probably benefited more than anyone because I needed something to tether myself to show up. I love personal growth. I've always been a personal growth junkie, but not everybody in my life is. I find that I like to talk about personal growth more than most, and to have some place where I was doing it in a dedicated space, but also a consistent routine. Like when we talk about climbing that mountain, there are many, many times when I didn't feel like showing up, and I'm so glad I did because somebody said something that resonated with me, that helped me with something that I was struggling with, or reinforced an approach I was taking. And that's been so great for my mental health. I didn't realize how much I needed that consistency.
Well, and you get that feeling of completion because you show up every time and you do it and you finish it.
Well, and the other thing is people are really happy to see you.
Yeah.
And that's really fun.
And it's an excuse to see people, which sometimes, kind of introverted extroverts like me need things like that to kind of pull you out a little bit. because it's
Yeah.
too easy for me to stay in my little hermit world.
Well, and I think the nice thing too is we're all showing up to work on ourselves while helping each other. And so many interactions with friends end up being one-sided. And I have interactions with some of my friends right now where it feels very one-sided, where I show up to be supportive to them. And not that they have never showed up for me. It's just that this is their turn. They're in a bigger crisis than me. And I feel like so many of my friends have been in bigger crises than me. So my crisis is smaller always. And that's fine. But I also need a place where I can refill my cup. And that Kiss My Pony has been that for me.
I love it.
Yeah. So when we talk about, tell me about the culture, I would say the culture is really inclusive and welcoming. For sure. I don't know. That would be what I would say. Yeah. And then I have another great question. What's a membership worth? I think that's about value. So if we're talking about cost, we have 2 tiers. So the Mindset Mondays are in our Ponyrific tier. That's our base tier. And that is $44 US a month. You can get a discount if you buy a year and do the annual at $440 for the year, which is a good deal. When we talk about mastermind groups or other kind of mentoring opportunities, and this is peer-to-peer coaching, so you're getting more than one coach, and it's really great value. I've spent a ton on coaching, and this makes it look like a 10-cent candy from the vending machine. Yeah, but the second tier is more dedicated for creative entrepreneurs, and it is called Pony Power. And in Pony Power, we have a Hot Seat Thursday where you actually bring a problem that you want help with. So that could be a conversation that you're having with an employee. It could be maybe a client relationship that you're struggling with. Maybe you want feedback on your portfolio or a project, and you get a think tank, which is pretty cool. And that is $84 a month or $840 for the year. So again, really affordable compared to all the other kind of mastermind coaching options that are out there, and you get good value. So really worth value. That's really the most important thing. You can DM, when we talk about DM earlier, you can DM in the app. So you can talk to whoever you like. And every now and then we do a community challenge to just get everybody engaged.
Like what kind of a community challenge type thing?
Well, one time we were supposed to do a self-portrait. So there was a lot of artistic variance on that. We had somebody do a digital self-portrait. I did mine with like felt pens, which is great. That's a poor color choice though. Look at that. Wait a second. I did mine with felt pens.
Good. The first choice looked like fall colors.
It did. I was just like a random grab from my cup. But then we've done, write your headline, like what's your headline for who you are, what you're going through. Yeah, it's fun. And the other thing too is you can show up when you want to show up, and we post the recordings for all the calls. So if you one weekend just want to take in a whole bunch of Mindset Monday exercises and really, fill your cup on personal growth, you can go through a whole bunch of exercises, and there's conversations that you can watch and rewatch, or, if you really enjoyed the call, but you feel like you missed something or wanted to revisit it, then you can just replay it, which is great. So yeah, it's a dedicated app, but it's also available on desktop. So on your phone, on both Apple and Android, and on the desktop at kissmypony.com.
Awesome.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Oh no, I should have been thinking instead of listening.
No, that's like the opposite of what you're supposed to do, isn't it?
I know.
So funny.
No, I guess one thing is, so you say you do all these topics all over this time. Is there anywhere where you kind of have like a menu or like a list of things that have been tackled? Like,
This is a great question, and I feel like this is a great future ad. Our app definitely has some room for improvement. We're a little baby brand with a little baby app, so it's not as robust as a lot of the things. There's features coming. We're always working on the back end. I think that that's a great question though. Is there a place where I can find the exercise that might be applicable for me at this time for what I'm struggling with? And it's something definitely for us to look into.
yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That's about all I have.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
And I hope to see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.